Welcome back to Lunch Break Fridays. I am Carly Polistina.
I'm Jessica Chen.
And today we are doing an Enstarz version of the ever iconic Hot Ones.
How did you get into comedy? Are you okay?
I started doing comedy because I am an actor. I went to acting school. And while I was there, people around me started getting super into John Mulaney and other things. And so I started writing jokes, and I was like, I'm too afraid to share these. Then we have this thing at the end of every semester called Night of Theater, where you could perform anything you wanted in front of the whole department in the middle of finals.
Fun.
And yeah, and I was like, you know what? And my friends were like, no, do it. And I was like, okay, sure, I will. Then I signed up, and I told the guy hosting that the night, I was like, hey, I'm trying stand-up, just don't put me last. And he was like, yeah, sure. And then I was absolutely dead last. But it actually went pretty well. And I don't actually consider that when I started doing comedy, but that's the first time I had tried it in front of an audience. And I was like, oh, you know what? This is fun. But it was really just in front of my peers, and also through acting school, I once in a while went to an open mic, but again, I really don't count it as when I started comedy. I really say I started back, honestly, 3 years ago at this point. Back in 2019, September is when...
Before the pandemic.
Before the pandemic is when I consider it my official start, even though I guess when I technically got into it was back during school. But yeah, that's how it started.
Very cool.
What was, as a TV writer, what was the first script that you ever wrote about?
Okay. At one point, I was living and working in Taiwan, and I had a really bad experience with one of my coworkers. And so because of this, and I also at the same time had just finished watching season 1 of Atlanta, because that's when that came out. That show came out. And then I remember I got really inspired by how Donald Glover was talking about how he wanted Atlanta to be about the black, growing up black, I guess, in Atlanta, or the black experience in Atlanta. And I was like, well, a show I've never seen before is a Taiwanese American experience in living in Taiwan. And so the very first script I wrote was a show about a Taiwanese American girl in Taiwan. It's really bad. That's the one where I learned that you should always write not based on true events necessarily, but based on people, if that makes sense. So the way I always write now is that you always have characters that have a smidgen of truth with maybe someone I know in life or myself or something. Don't go true events, because then you'll end up constrained by what actually happened, if that makes sense. And usually even when you write a character that's based on yourself, a lot of times what ends up happening is they transform on the page or while you're writing. And then when you get trapped by what actually happened, it ends up really bad because things stop making sense. It doesn't feel natural for the characters to go where you are trying to force them to go.
Gotcha.
I don't know if that makes sense.
Oh my gosh, no, that makes absolute sense.
So that was the first script I ever wrote.
Gotcha. Oh.
How did your childhood or growing up experience affect your art?
I always had I had a family that was always very just vocal and not performative in sense, but we were very just open. My Christmas Eve, everyone's always just singing and up a storm, and everyone's just very passionate and talks a lot. And I think that also I've been doing some form of performance for truly ever. When I was super, super little, I was doing child modeling. Then I was doing dance for a while. Then it's been acting since. And then with the acting, the stand-ups come in, and then I've also been writing forever. I was the kid who was writing the plays, then forcing her cousins to be in them on Thanksgiving.
Nice.
They were not thrilled to be in them, but now every adult laughs about it a lot.
It's the Little Women.
Exactly.
It's like a Little Women.
Yeah, so I think it's always just been kind of the media and stuff I was always consuming, because it's what I was in front of me, were more old-timey British shows, Keeping Up Appearances and As Time Goes By, which Dame Judi Dench is in. Check it out. Or The Vicar of Dibley. This isn't relatable, but but I think those really informed what I find funny and the art that I really enjoy. And I think a lot of those things are more theatrical in a way, rather than being more just, I don't know. I think I think I answered the question, but it's kind of been my family's energy is very oh my gosh, it's out there and let's be like creative and weird about it. I'm making them sound strange. They're really not that strange.
It sounds really supportive to me. I don't know.
Yeah, like it's just a nice, I think it's a creatively energized environment. My mom always said like intelligent people aren't ever bored. So we always like, which is something she backtracks on now. Now she's like, I said they're probably not bored sometimes. I'm like, Mom, don't you dare. That is not what you said.
You set us on this path. You can't take it back now.
You set us here. But yeah, so I think that's kind of how I've ended up here. It's kind of a combination of forever and family. Anyway, that's my long rambling way of answering that question.
Very cool.
Do you have any weird fears? Not like a deep fear, but one that you know intellectually is silly, but you can't help it.
I mean, I feel like normal fears I am afraid of heights vaguely. I feel like I'm usually pretty bad at horror movies. But I feel like a good one would be like zombies.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because I had a recurring dream as a kid where my family where like for some reason there were like these monster things that looked kind of like mud zombies, I guess. And they would like turn people into other mud zombies. And I had this recurring dream as a kid where my family members were being turned one by one to these zombie things, and then they would come trying to chase and kill me. I don't know what that means.
Oh my god.
But that was something that would repeatedly happen in childhood, so in my dreams. So maybe that.
Why do you think it was zombies?
I don't know, but to this day I don't like watching zombie media. So like I haven't seen The Walking Dead, and I know that everyone tells me to watch Train to Busan, and I haven't seen it. And also All of Us Are Dead, which are both Korean things with zombies in them that are really famous, and I haven't seen either.
Gotcha. So no zombies for Jess.
No zombies. Although, funnily enough, my roommate is now on The Walking Dead, so that's hilarious.
Really?
Yeah.
Wait, so will you watch your roommate on The Walking Dead?
I don't know, because she's playing a zombie. I don't know. So I don't know.
Which will make it infinitely harder to live with her.
Right.
Like you may have, if you're going
to study zombie media.
Like if you're going to support her, like you may have to be like, I'll see your show, but then like I have to move. I will be leaving. Thank you.
Yeah.
Dang. Okay.
So there's that. What are some challenges being a female comic? You can also answer this with an actress stuff too, if you want.
I think the most difficult part is when you're the only woman in a room, and people keep looking to you as if it's
is
like,
this okay?
Yeah,
Is
exactly.
this okay?
It's like
Is this
I can't be your pass for all of these things. But on top of that,
also puts you in an uncomfortable position.
oh, it totally does. And then it's also at mics and stuff when you're working on jokes or whatnot, where maybe you have a joke that's specific to like a female experience, and it's like I'm not gonna know if this is funny or not until I'm in front of other women.
Right.
Or there will be things, even at just the most basic level, more women should get into stand-up comedy, like bar none. I know in this episode of Please Help, I seem like I come up pretty strongly against that, but I'm really not. Like, please, that's not true. Like, please join comedy, because there is a boys club element to it. And that's not to say it's the fault of guys that are in comedy. It's not. They've just been there. But I think in any room you go into, there is a certain level of latching onto being like, oh my gosh, awesome. Like that's the person I feel safe going to talk to. And when that person's not there, it's like, oh.
Yeah, what?
Like, where do I go? Also, when you're at the mics, people start treating you like you're an audience member at the mic, which is weird. Not in a big way, but it's more of like because comics will like crowd work with you.
Oh, so they'll like ask you questions specifically and pick on you?
Yes, exactly. But like 9 times out of 10, if there is one woman at the mic, they will ask her. And it's like, I'm not just here for you in this moment, like actually.
Yeah.
And again, this is nothing against like male comedians in general. It's just the way it has been, but it does make it harder for women to come in. And maybe a way to do that is just like don't reference them in the middle of your set. Like, they're not your safety blanket.
Yeah.
I guess that's one of the things. There are several, but that's probably the most general one.
And like this might be a topic for another time, but I am curious if there are like any like I'm trying to think what are the right words, like like how if there are any like external factors that lead to that too, because I think the equivalent is like the film industry is mostly men, and I think but there's a very clear reason why that happened, if that makes sense. Because actually, before the studio system was established in Hollywood, there were a lot more women in film, behind the camera too, and like, you know, doing much more female directors. And then what happened was that when the studio systems were established, these studios were founded by men, and they just hired their buddies, and then suddenly there were no more women directors for a while. So like I wonder if like there's something like that for the comedy scene.
I think
that would be a different discussion altogether. But like
I think it's a really interesting topic, and what I really think it is that like boys from a young age are encouraged to be funny. Like if you're not attractive, you're encouraged to be funny, and I don't think the same applies for women. You know, because like
we're told to be nurturers, like
exactly,
kind, polite people.
And I think even when it's like, oh my gosh, she's so funny, it's like funny can't be it. And I don't think that, but it's, and I'm not saying somebody has looked at me and said that, but like the girl is never the class clown.
Yeah.
Because you don't even think of it. Even if somebody were to be, it's just that mindset isn't there. There's so many more pressures on that. And I think
it's also because there's more allowance given to guys to act out in general in school.
Absolutely.
Like if a girl was to act out, that's like, I don't think they'd be given the same leeway. Like,
no.
It's not expected. They're like, oh, guys are being,
100%.
This boy is being like silly and immature and it's fine, you know?
And like that's it. Oh, also just to answer the OG question. So I think that's a big factor that just leads into less, it taking more for women to be like, oh wait, I'm actually going to join this scene that has kind of doesn't seem like too much of an option.
Yeah.
And then answer the other question again is like, also there's just some people that are just making jokes that may have flown in a weird room I don't want to be in like 1950 something, and it's like, just stop. Like there's only so many. I understand if you're working through something and you're trying to get to somewhere, but there are some people that you could tell it's like,
you just are not doing well.
Just don't do that. Just don't. I don't need to hear like the 5th straight white male's take on abortion in a row. And they're like, I gotta talk about it. I'm like, you don't. I'm not saying you can't talk about it, but it's like, if you do have something interesting to say, rather than like, I wish my girlfriend would, get one. You're like, When was the moment you realized you wanted to be a TV writer, where you met with support? Or like, what was your experience?
Oh dear, okay. After I got accepted into my MFA program for writing and producing for television, and I realized that the program was only writing for TV, I actually had not realized when I applied the first time. And so, like, I was like, oh, wait, hold on. And when I got in, I was like, oh, wait, hold on. I thought about it, and I was like, maybe this is actually a secretly good move, because I looked back at everything that I had written, and I'd only ever written short films and then series, like TV, like series, web series, or like a TV series and stuff like that. And so I was like, well, it seems that I naturally gravitate towards this form of writing anyway. Because I think there's like a huge prestige to writing feature screenplays, right? Mm-hmm. And then like after I went into my program and learned more about TV writing, I realized it's actually definitely something more I'm happy that I gravitate towards by luck, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because like the way my program talks about it, they say that TV is like the writer's medium, and like film is like a director's medium. And what that means is that the writers have a lot more control over TV. So, for example, the head writers are showrunners, right? And then the directors are hired guns that come in whatever episodes they need to do. Whereas, like, for film, it's like the directors are the ones who originate a lot of projects. And then they usually hire the screenwriter as a hired gun. So it's, like, flipped. And so I realized, like, as a writer, it actually puts me in a bigger position of power to be in TV than to be in film. Even though I think sometimes people think that film is a lot more prestigious or whatever. Yeah. But I do think that TV also is more helpful for me as like a person of color trying to write as well, because I do think that TV is eons ahead of film. Film moves a lot slower in terms of like what topics are allowed to be touched and stuff. And I feel like TV is a little bit more faster or more like to the times, if that makes sense. And so like as someone who wants to write about like different experiences and wants to diversify TV, or in my words, my goal is to expand what is considered an American story on TV or film. So like be able to make things so that my experience is just as American as the next person, if that makes sense. So like with someone with a goal like that, I think it's easier to start that in TV than in film.
Absolutely. And it's so when you were applying, you thought it was just a film writing program?
I thought it was a screenwriting thing, just general screenwriting. And then also I realized it wasn't for screenwriting either. It's more for like teaching you how to write together and also be in a writer's room more than writing. They kind of assume you know screenwriting and writing before you go in, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then in terms of whether I was met with support, so my family was not very supportive, calling on my mom, like, she was not very supportive, because I had actually been doing a different master's before this, and I dropped out, and she was very, very sad. I was at, like, the second most prestigious university in Taiwan, studying to be a Mandarin as a second language teacher. The original plan was to come back and teach Mandarin at CIA. Sorry, CIA, I'm not doing that anymore.
Wait, I'm so sorry. At, like, the CIA?
Yeah, my family's from Maryland, so, like, you know, CIA's in Virginia, so it's kind of close.
Oh, so, wait, so, like, not the government agency CIA?
Yeah,
no.
that government
That government
agency.
So, sorry, please continue. Obsessed with this. All of this makes so much sense. We sit so close together. I never knew this. Incredible. I'm so
So
sorry.
that was the original plan. I was going to work at the CIA, and it didn't work out because I dropped out from my program. So I heard if you go to get a master's in Mandarin teaching, and the salary is higher than if you just went with a bachelor's degree. So I dropped out. My mom was very sad. And then when she heard that I signed up for acting classes and started doing all the film stuff, then she got even more sad. So, and so she was like, I will never support you, essentially, until shout out to Disney's live action Mulan, because my mom and my sister watched that movie together. And at one point, according to my sister, unless she's lying to me, like, according to my sister, my mom turns to her and goes, your sister can do better than this, right?
Wait, that's amazing.
And my sister goes, yeah. As a true sister would, she backed me up. And now my mom thinks that my career path isn't trash. So
Yay! We love that.
Ta-da. So shout out Mulan 2020 for sucking so bad that my mom was like, hey, my daughter should be a screenwriter now.
Oh my god.
Now Disney's never going to hire me.
Or actually, Disney, you should definitely hire her because...
I can make my mom proud.
Exactly. So technically Disney accomplished what their objective tends to be with their films. In not the way they meant to, but they did do it. A meaningful change.
Yes.
Wow, Jess, you almost work for the CIA.
Yeah.
But even
that was close.
That all checks out.
I don't know if you know. I don't know if this is gonna make it into the thing, but like, if you want a fun CIA story, I heard that like, even if you work in the CIA Starbucks, because there's Starbucks and the first floor is CIA, apparently you need a background check, and also they're not allowed to write anyone's names on the cups.
Obsessed with this. I have a new life path. I won't work for the CIA, but I will try to work for the Starbucks at the CIA. That's the dream.
What is the most desperate thing you've done to make it?
Ooh, that's a really good question.
I think this is a secret question we have for everyone.
Mm-hmm. You know what the most desperate thing I do is? I should make this. I mean, past tense.
Past tense.
Past tense, definitely. Is like, if I get myself into a certain headspace, I can convince myself that sending someone an email that's like, hi, I think you're like, I will just send an email that's like way too much. That's like, hi, this seems great. Please put me in your thing. Like, please let me audition for this thing. And I'm like, I know that's wrong, but I just get into this headspace where I'm like, that's fine. And then I'm like, Carly, what are we doing here? Why did we send this email? And then I'm looking back and it's like, you know what? I think it is possible not to get called in because you seem too eager. And I think that's my real issue. I'm trying to think if there was anything I did when I was really little that was, not like really little, but like younger, that was super desperate. I always wanted to, but my parents were pretty good at
Curbing things?
Curbing me. Just because there are a lot of videos that never hit YouTube because my parents were like, do not put anything online. I would just be like, look at this video I made.
They'd be like, no, don't do this.
They would love the video, and then they're like, great, I'm so glad this exists. Don't post it online. But that was more of a privacy thing than them not liking the video. Early 2000s, the thought of posting things online was still so foreign. Now privacy's a myth. Yeah. But even then we were still having, I don't know if you ever got them in school, but we were always having these weird seminars with teachers that would come in that would be like, oh, or that were like, don't post anything online. This man found this girl because she posted this photo and she happened to be in front of this building with this address on it. And then suddenly they found her car and now she's dead.
Oh,
and
God,
my parents were like,
I never
so
got that
Carly,
one.
don't post anything on the internet ever, which is hilarious considering what I do now.
I feel like maybe this is the age gap showing, but we didn't get those. I feel like can't tell. I'm a bit older than Carly, so I don't think maybe when I was growing up at that age it wasn't the internet wasn't quite a thing like that yet.
Yeah, they really wanted to scare us. They were like, tell nothing
This
to
feels
no one
like
ever.
the sex ed version of internet privacy stuff. That makes sense.
No, 100%.
No, you will die.
That's so real. But yeah, probably the most desperate thing I do is I email too enthusiastically, which I should corral. I'm working on it.
I think as long as you back it up, it's fine. I found cold emailing to be really helpful, actually, sometimes.
Exactly. So maybe that isn't that desperate. I'm sure I have something. If I think of it randomly, I'll shout it out. But so what is your favorite nerdy franchise and why?
I feel like everything I like is nerdy, so like, this is hard to rank. I don't know. Yeah. I don't know. I feel like, because I feel like the Marvel stuff doesn't count anymore. So
yeah.
That doesn't really count. Probably one of the animes I like. Yeah, so like my favorite anime is like Fullmetal Alchemist, but I think the one I talk about the most to people is Berserk. So so it's probably Berserk. Nice. Yeah. So I don't know if you guys have heard of it. Berserk is an anime by me. Author's last name is Miura. He passed away somewhat recently, but he's been writing this thing since the 80s, and it's still not done yet. So I'm not sure how it's gonna end now that he's dead. But it has like very amazing artwork, and it's like one of those things where I watched there are 3 anime movies, and watched those first, and like I was so struck by it that like for the next month I couldn't stop thinking about the characters, because the characters are some of the best written characters I've ever seen in my life. The only reason why Berserk is not higher up on my anime loves is because it's so dark, and that's like what it's known for. It's like it's extremely dark, so like I can just watch it on a random Tuesday. I have to be in the right headspace to watch Berserk. I've literally shown Berserk to people, and then partway through they're like, "Turn it off! I can't continue."
Oh my god! Yeah. Wow. So did you like watch this growing up, or like did it? Why do you think that? I know you're like, oh, I really loved this show, but what is it about it that makes it your favorite nerdy anime?
I think it's because there's so much to it. There's so many like conspiracy theories about it, because very like highly symbolic and metaphorical. Like Berserk's depiction of like God and angels and what that is, and demons is all really interesting. Also, it's just the story is just so good. I don't know. Yeah. Like there's like a 2016, 2017 anime that continues after the movies, and like those suck balls in terms of how it looks, because it looks terrible. But it only works. It's only like must-see television in the sense that the story is what keeps it good. The animation sucks. It's like CGI and it sucks really bad. But yeah. So it's like something I talk about with people endlessly, and I will watch all the videos about like dissecting the characters and stuff, because look, they're some of the most interesting, complex people I've seen in the fictional characters.
Kind of a follow-up, but I think along the same path. What was the first anime that you were like, this is amazing, I love it? Like, what was your introduction into the anime world?
Probably Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh! My sister and I run home every day from elementary school to watch it. And
that's
watch
so
it together.
Cute.
Yeah, because it was like at 4 p.m. So like that's like when school let out. So we go home, pop ourselves in front of the television, and just watch Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh! And then Pokemon sort of holds up now. Yu-Gi-Oh! Does not hold up.
That was a decisive, like, no, it does not.
I'm sorry. I don't know why I used to like this show, but apparently I loved it so much. My favorite character was, like, Kaiba. I don't know why. So, yeah.
Why doesn't it hold up as a full anime? Like...
I don't know how to explain it. It's just so cheesy. And if you want to watch it, just watch Yu-Gi-Oh! Abridged. That's a classic. Just do that. Cool. That's me.
Okay.
I mean, too many nerdy franchises to count.
No, dude, I get it. Oh my god.
Also, Lord of the Rings would be the other big one.
Oh,
which
yeah.
Is why Adam and I are gonna do a Rings of Power thing at some point. But yeah, hugely into Lord of the Rings. Used to. I read all of his books, and then also my parents. We used to watch movies every night for dinner, right? And that's kind of what my parents love, movies, and I think that kind of informed things. But my dad brought home Lord of the Rings once from Blockbuster, back when Blockbuster was still a thing. And he accidentally brought back 2 towers. So I watched it 2, then 1, then 3, because 3 came at Christmas, which is around my birthday. And then, like, every time we have dinner, we like, trade off being able to choose movies to watch. And it got so bad that, because I would just choose a Lord of the Rings movie every time, that at some point my family was just like, no more, we can't do this anymore.
You are cut off.
I think we've seen it collectively as a family maybe like 13, 14 times at this point.
I love that though. Oh my gosh. You gotta have that obsession where you're like, this is the one.
Yeah. And then the other thing is probably the Art Miss Fowl books, because I will read those every year. I've met the author once when he did a book signing in DC, and I literally couldn't speak. I was so excited. I was like, but I've read those since I was in 5th grade, so those are also another nerdy franchise. Movie sucks. Don't watch it. It's on Disney Plus. Well, if you want to you can watch it, but do it as a drinking game or something. Otherwise, not watchable. What does making it mean to you, as a follow-up from the other question?
Making it to me means oh my gosh, wait, this one has a secret spice. It like creeps in and it's like,
oh, really?
I'm going to get
definitely
spicy.
from Costa Rica, so.
Yeah, slow build. So like if I die partway through this, you'll understand. But to me, making it means the ability to be full-time creating in a way that finances my life.
So just being a full-time creative.
Like I want to be a writer, actor, and comedian full-time. And I think that's really what it means to me, is where I can just, because I don't need to be famous, and I don't know that I necessarily want to be
ultra famous.
Yeah, like I don't think that's really what I want. Like if that happened, I'm kind of passive about that, but I think that I would just like to be successful enough that I get to be full-time working and working with cool people.
Yeah.
Where it's like, yeah, like you kind of find your team, and it's like, I would love to be in a situation where I can call up my friends who are also full-time creatives and be like, oh my God, I have this project idea, and we have the tools and the ability to put it together in a big way. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what making it means, is when I can look and be like, just at all times I am creating, and that's how I sustain myself.
Cool.
But yeah. So you've acted in your own projects before. Shout out, Please Help. Shout out, Drama High. And you've mentioned before that in the past, we've not addressed it here, but I know that you have a background in dance that I'd love to hear more about. What were those worlds like, and do you think they've really...
The dance world?
I guess acting and dance, like how have those two things fed into, if they have at all, your aspirations as a writer?
I started dance when I was 5 years old. I took lessons for like Chinese traditional dance, so like all like the fan dances, umbrella dances, ribbon dances type things. And actually performed for the first time in front of other people. I was performing ever since then, but I first showed it at school in 7th grade at the talent show, and I received like the biggest applause, which was really fun. That was the first time I choreographed for myself. And then after that, in high school, I founded a Chinese traditional dance club with another lady named Jenny. And then like I did that, so I was teaching other people for like 4 years. And then like after that, went to college and was choreographing and teaching people throughout college as well. At one point, I'm pretty sure they blacklisted me because my dances got too popular.
What?
Yeah, because like people would be looking forward to my dances because my dances were the most different. Like a lot of times, the dance club had a lot of like hip hop or like contemporary modern dances, and then they had me with my fan dances and other things, umbrella dances and stuff. And so when that happened, and I ended up choreographing dances and teaching people for World Carnival, which is a different event. And then after that, I went to Japan, and then when I came, and that's a whole other story, was the beginning. That Japanese dance team is the beginning of the current Jess that you know. Because prior to that, I had never thought I could be a leader. Like, I was always a follower. Mm-hmm. The experience in Japan, founding that dance team, was the first time I really took a leadership position and realized I actually kind of excel and really enjoy that. Yeah, and so, because that was when I tried to join a dance club there, and then at the meeting, the president was like, we don't need you. We already chose everyone for our team. And it was not just me, it was like the other foreign exchange students who wanted to do dance as well. They were like, we don't need you. You can try to apply with your own team, but it's highly unlikely you'll ever get to perform. And so...
All right, bye.
Yeah. And so I was like, that was the moment where I grabbed everyone from the meeting, all the exchange students, and I was like, do you want to dance? And they were like, yeah. And I was like, if you want to dance, I'm gonna make sure, I promise you will perform by the end of the semester. We performed at least twice, which was fun.
That's great, yeah.
Yeah, and then like we gained a lot of respect from the Japanese student community, I guess, there. And I think my dance team still exists. But I was like the first like exchange student to really do something like that. And then I became kind of famous on school campus because I'd be like, I'm Jessica, and I was the only Jessica on campus apparently. First time in my life, I was the only Jessica. and they're there, and they're like, oh, you're that Jessica. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm the troublemaking one. Yeah, so there's that whole dance situation. And then I came back and founded Cultural Dance Club at my school. And then that whole Japanese situation is what gave me the courage to do that at my own school, so I didn't have to rely on the dance club anymore because I could hold my own dance shows. Awesome. And that's where I uncovered actually a lot more different cultures at my school. My school is very heavily white. It's no offense to anyone, but it's heavily white. And so I didn't know there were so many other cultures underneath, I guess, until people start auditioning to be other choreographers for my club, and that was really fun. Yeah. And then in terms of like other worlds and stuff, there's also an alternate universe where Jess was scouted by an entertainment company in Taiwan and almost became a pop idol. That was also another situation that happened.
I'm talking to the coolest person. I don't understand. You're amazing. What?
Yeah, that also happened. I was doing like singing lessons, but also acting lessons, modeling classes at some point, dance classes, live streaming like lessons and stuff just to like potentially get me into modeling or like a pop idol type situation.
Why didn't you go down that path?
Well, I wasn't sure one, because like I wasn't fully comfortable under the company I was scouted under, and I wasn't sure. At one point, I thought like I had to decide between focusing on being a pop idol or like doing like more acting and writing and stuff, and I chose the acting and the writing. I don't know. I felt like maybe it was difficult to focus on trying to do all the things because basically I was like just trying to find an avenue in which I could succeed, in Taiwan, and so like. So I think that's kind of part of it. And also, like, part of it was also, like, my acting teacher at one point was, like, telling me that it was a lot of... My acting teacher for that program was also telling me that, one, I was too fat, and I was actually much skinnier than I am now, because I increased some weight during COVID, but I was too fat, apparently. And then also, I was being pressured to do plastic surgery, where like there was like a jaw surgery where they will remove the back 3 teeth and then shave your jaw. That face shape is much more is like in right now.
That's one. That's ridiculous that anyone said that to you. 2, I know that for a fact that is something that is said to a lot of people in a lot of different like acting programs and things.
You fat.
Hey, oh, hey. We all been there, which is not a good thing. I'm not bragging. It's bad. If anyone said that to you, that sucks. Just don't listen to them. Away they go. Boo.
Yeah.
The jaw surgery is another level. That's insane.
Yeah. That was definitely something that I was being told to do. And I was like, I'm willing to eat healthier, and if I lose weight, sure. But I'm not willing to not eat. I kind of like my jaw, so maybe not.
Yeah, I like your jaw too. Yeah, not that
I like my face shape. But yeah, that was what it was. I was like, there was a number of factors that didn't seem very healthy.
Yeah.
Story time. So I wasn't sure if that answered your question. Any of that answered your question.
No, that totally did. That absolutely did. That was a great answer. Oh my gosh, but yeah.
I was like, I don't know where to begin. There's like so many other things I've done.
Yeah, the ever-exciting tapestry of Jessica Chen.
How do you balance comedy with Enstarz and everything else? And if you don't use the spinning plates analogy that you used, please help.
Wow, this one also definitely has more kick. It's so funny how Spice, I don't know if anyone else had this happens to, it immediately like attacks the back of my throat, and it's like, ah, and then I'm like, oh, this is fun. Oh, I shouldn't have made that noise right now. But I really think that it's just a matter of prioritizing and planning, and a combination of having things I'm passionate about and knowing where the work has to go. Like, I think the biggest excuse people make for themselves a lot frequently is that there's not enough time.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, if you actually look at what you have and what you're doing, like, yes, there is. And so I really got, mostly during the pandemic, actually, I got really into using a planner, which had never been my strongest suit.
Ooh, planners are great.
I love planners. But I also, what's funny is I've always loved to make schedules, but keeping a consistent planner was never something I was really good at. But when it came to be like, oh, we need to make this rehearsal schedule, like, I love just making a schedule or like a to-do list. But I think that's also just a matter of starting to do work where I was like, oh, and that's also, I've really realized recently, the way I love working is when it's like, oh, we have this project I'm working on, and we can throw everything into that project, and then that project's done, and we're going to move on to the next project. Yeah. And so I think with Enstarz and with like acting and comedy and doing all these other things, it's really just become a matter of being like, what's the priority when? Because especially working here has been great because it has been such an outlet, and it's nice, and I do enjoy it as a creative, and I'm sure you feel the same way, where it's flexible to the point where I know how to get the work done here that I need to get done, but I am able to continue pursuing the other things I'm working on. So it really, at the end of the day, scheduling.
Yeah, because I was like thinking like with our release and recording schedule, it helps a lot, I think, with us knowing like what actually needs to be done day to day. And I think that helps a lot, because I really want everyone to have like good work-life balance, you know, not feel like they have to work outside too much.
Oh, and actually that's a big thing that I had to get behind is there was a time when I was working here 9 to 5, and then I was doing like comedy or acting stuff from like 5 to 10, and then I was taking the train home, and then like wash, rinse, repeat, like, and it was just that forever, and I was just getting so burnt out.
Yeah.
And I didn't understand why. I'm like, no, but I'm doing the things I care about. Why aren't I energized? And it's like, you can't work that way. You have to figure out the way you work for you, and scheduling in time where you're like, I'm actually going to go be a person and see my friends. Relax. Because
I'm terrible at relaxing.
Oh, I'm awful at it. I told my friends I was like, oh, my thing got canceled this weekend. And they're like, oh, so you're going to relax now? And I laughed in their human faces. I was like, no. But I think it's important to schedule. I think in a lot of art forms, the thing you hear is always like, work, don't let up. You should be doing, like, every ounce of your time should be doing this. Grinding. Yeah. And here's the thing, hot take for 2022, I believe in, like, in hustle culture, grind culture. Like, I do, because I think you do need to have that ability to work hard and go at it. But it's more, but when I say that, it's so much more important to work hard in a smart way than just check the boxes of what working hard is. Because
and
if you're
scheduling fun time.
Yes, you need it. There's so many people that don't have social lives because they're like, and I'm not saying I have anyone who would laugh at me for saying what I'm saying right now, but to me, like, I feel like I found more of a balance even recently where it's like having productive time that's scheduled in where you know you can work your absolute hardest versus just taking up all your time with things that tick a box is just as much of a waste of time. So it's like, have your free time, have your work time, have your day job time. Like, you need all of your times, and you actually can't cut corners on that.
Yeah, and I actually kind of, the way that I, like, mind trick myself into doing relaxing things is to tell myself that I'm actually investing in my career by having fun or, like, resting, because you do better work as a result.
Totally. And then on top of that, as writers, I'm always like, my big one is like, I need something to write about. You know what I mean? Like, I need to, like, find something out there.
Yes. You need human interaction. So you can talk about the weirdness of humanity, I suppose.
Exactly. So really, you're doing yourself, if that's what you're going for.
You're finding material.
You're finding material. Exactly. We're all scientists. You just have to go out there into the world. But yeah. I hate that I actually think that, but I hear how ridiculous it sounds. But whatever gets you out the door and doing something like a person, I support.
Yes, I agree.
So, Jess, this is a silly, fun question. Do you believe in ghosts? If yes, have you ever had an experience with one? If no, why not?
I don't think so. I mean, I'm still wary of them, I suppose, but I don't really believe too much about it. Like, recently, well, not so recently, but I like, I watch like BuzzFeed Unsolved. I don't know if anyone else does, but like they do like true crime stuff, but they also do like ghost hunting type things, supernatural things. And like one of the two is like really believes in ghosts, and the other one is like very much a skeptic. A skeptic person was one time said like he's my favorite person, Shane. He was like saying like, if I was dead, I wouldn't just like hang out in a place and just push pens off a desk. Like, why would I do that? I was like, man, it's making lots of sense.
That is the best reason I've ever heard for being anti-ghost.
Yeah, like, it makes a lot of sense now, doesn't it? Like, if I like was just chained in a mortal coil, would I really spend all my time just pushing pens off a desk?
That's a great point. I really have no follow-up to that because like that is the best argument I've ever heard.
Right?
Yeah.
I was like, wow, this makes sense. Who is a dream celebrity that you like to work with?
I would love to work with like Amy Poehler and Tina Fey.
Oh.
Very badly.
This makes sense. I think your guys' comedy would make sense.
No, exactly. And I've always this is a hot one, but But I think that
it's a reasonable dab, right?
Tina Fey was always somebody that I always looked up to because I kind of realized at one point after I became obsessed with Mean Girls.
Oh, Mean Girls is great.
Oh my God, Mean Girls is perfect. But I think that was the movie that my freshman year of high school, I started watching it a lot. And I realized that I found out that Tina Fey wrote the movie.
Yes.
And from that point, I had always been like writing like stories and plays, and I had been acting a lot. And I kind of had always, even though obviously I was like writing the plays and then I was like forcing my family and friends to be in them, I don't think I had ever put together that they could be worlds that connected with each other. Like I think I thought of them as separate.
Like writing and acting?
Yeah, like, or at least if I were writing it, somebody else was in it. Or if like, but then I saw that Tina Fey, like her whole thing was that she was writing stuff and being in it.
Yeah.
So I will never forget. She probably forgets this. This is no shade to her. But I remember I turned to my friend. I guess this must have been like my freshman year of high school. One of my best friends, I turned to her and I was like, yeah, I think like I really want to be like Tina Fey when I grow up. And she turns to me and goes, but Carly, Tina Fey is a comedian.
Oh no.
But it was so funny though, because also at that point in time,
were you already doing comedy stuff?
No, comedy was like 10 years off from there, 7 years off. When was high school? Well, yeah, I guess it was like 10 years from there, but or more. How old am I? I don't know.
How old is anyone?
But
we're all existential.
Oh yeah, you know what? Because I'm 25, so like it really was probably 10 years ago.
Okay.
That happened. So comedy was such a long way off in the thought process, but it was interesting because Tina Fey was like the first person I saw who I was like, you are doing exactly what I want to be doing. And it turns out she was also doing comedy. Yeah, exactly. So it was just an interesting thing. And then Amy Poehler's just like so cool too. So I'm like, they're best friends and like they're one person like that. So that would be very cool.
Yeah.
Yay. The hot one. What is the biggest lesson you've learned through your projects you've worked on? Like what's something that as you've grown, you would reference as an important part of your process?
Oh, this one is very spicy. You don't have to do it alone. Like, there's people who can help you, and that makes sense. Like, like, even if you want to direct or something, I think it's always good to, like, be able to, like, trust and rely on your crew. That makes sense, or people you're working with, because people might have, I think it just comes from, like, my own personality. Like, I tend to not think that I know best in any situation. I have a reasonable amount of confidence in my point of view on things, but I always think that there could be someone else who has a better point of view.
Yeah.
And so because I think that's why I like writing in teams, and I like film because it's so collaborative. You can always, like, ask for help or ask for other people's suggestions. But, yeah. I got very quiet because it's very spicy.
That's true, yeah. That's also true. But, no, that makes a lot of sense. And I think that's something that the more and more people I talk to, and even within my own circle and within the people that we are lucky enough to interview for Enstarz, everyone who is doing well always comes back to their network and the people they're around and the ability to trust the people they're working with. Like, honestly, I talk about it all the time how lucky I am to that this is the team we have in this office. Because even putting Please Help
We're
together.
incredibly
Oh
lucky.
my God. It's just like, it's such a team that you're like, oh wait, I can genuinely, legitimately trust these people in a like creative sense. Like I trust their creative sensibilities and they trust mine, and we can just kind of grow together from there.
Yeah, I totally agree. I'm like very, very affected by this hot sauce. I'm sorry.
Oh my God, you're all good. We can move right along.
Yeah.
I'm not sure is helpful.
If you were trapped on a desert island, what would you bring with you? You can only bring like 1 or 2 things.
Are they things I would necessarily need for my survival?
It could be.
Or like should I pick things that I have to survive with, or things that are like, oh, these, I would like to have these with me?
The second one.
Okay. I think I would bring my copy of Alice in Wonderland, or a copy of Alice in Wonderland. Is my favorite book. I collect the books. I have a bunch of different copies, like
Whoa.
some of them from like World War I I think is the earliest one I have.
What?
I have like one of the original. They're very fun.
What?
Yeah, I love Alice in Wonderland so much. And
Learn
then
something new.
what else would I bring? I'm always so bad with these questions. Well, because I guess I'll feed myself as well. So, no, I don't know. No, because that would not be a thing. Maybe I'd bring something weird that I could like build a skill on, you know? Like,
What's that mean?
maybe I'd bring that and like a guitar, and then I would learn to play the guitar alone on this island, and no one could tell me I was doing it wrong because I live on this island alone.
Okay.
Those are my questions. And this is hot, but it's not bad. I mean,
It's not
I don't want to be that guy. But it's
No, that was too much. Scary. This is way too much. I'm gonna.
okay, delayed hit. Cool.
Delayed reaction?
We're good. Anyway, this one's also silly. What is your go-to karaoke song?
My Heart Will Go On by Celine Dion.
Really? Why?
I like that one. It's fun to sing. Also, my parents really liked the Titanic. We had the video cassettes.
The movie, I hope.
Oh, this one is spicy, but in a different way.
Kind of creeps up on you.
Yeah. I don't know. Would you say this one's spicier or that one's spicier?
I think this one's more immediately spicy, but as I sit here, this one like slowly grows. I can tell my face is so red right now, but honestly, it's like...
Weird.
And that was Enstarz Hot Ones.
Hot Ones Challenge.
Or Hot Sums, because I guess we were asking each other questions. Hot Twos. No,
Yeah.
I'm not in love with that name. We'll name this show soon.
The Nuggies version.
The chicken nuggets version of Hot Ones.
Thank you if you like this, please subscribe to the channel. Thank you so much for watching.
Yay! Come back next week.
We have survived.
We survived!
Yay!
Thanks.
For
Watching.
Enstarz,
please be
Sure.
to like,
comment
And
subscribe!
Yay!